a lot of people still citing the economy as the #1 issue in this campaign. President Obama's economic record has certainly been challenging. A family today has less money adjusted for inflation than they did when he came to office. Millions more Americans are now on food stamps, and the number of Americans that have just given up for work, given up looking for work altogether, it hasn't been at a level like this since the 1970s. So how does Hillary Clinton campaign on that economic record? Joining me now, Clinton supporter, Congressman Brad Sherman, representing California. Congressman, good to have you here. You know, it's a challenging record to have to run on. How does she defend his economic policy?
Oh, the Republican economic record is the one that's hard to run on. You saw this country falling off a cliff at the end of the George W. Bush administration. Then you saw the Obama economic policies turn the country around. Now, I realize for 1 month we had some bad numbers.
Let me jump in. Congressman, let me jump in because you say that Obama was able to turn the economy around, but you know that's actually not quite true, because if you look at the average income a family had 8 years ago when he first came to office, guess what? They have $100 more now today than they did 8 years ago, and you adjust for inflation, and I'll tell you, that's less money. So the reality is, people aren't doing it well.
If I can continue, the fact is, we were in free fall, and of course you keep falling. So things were going bad at the beginning of 2009. The right starting point for evaluating the Obama administration is the beginning of 2010, when the stimulus bill had been passed and when he had arrested the free fall. If you start looking at the effect of the policies from 2010 to today, incomes are up, jobs are up. We have we're climbing our way back to where we were before the disaster.
And I don't blame that entirely on President Obama. I would actually point out that incomes have gone nowhere for the last 20 years. You know, one of the stats that this White House likes to cite is job growth, saying that, you know, we've added jobs for the last 75 months. But I'd counter that, sir, by pointing out that those jobs aren't very good jobs. Many of them are part-time jobs. And one of the reasons that they're part-time jobs is, in fact, because of Obamacare, his health care policy that he put into place, which has now caused employers to cut back on the number of hours Americans are working. Again, how does she run on that?
There was a drop in hours back in the George W. Bush administration. Well, first, we're running against a racist that the Republican Party is disavowing.
I'm talking about the economy right now. Let's not get that's another time and place we can talk about that. But I am talking about his economic record and the fact that Americans don't feel good about their future, about their children's future. They don't know if they're going to have a job next week or if their kids are going to have a job 10 years from now. So how does she change how people feel? How does she convince them that she can offer something different than what President Obama has given them?
The fact is, President Obama has positive approval ratings because people understand the economy was dropping. He stopped the drop. We've had 75 months. Yes, now we need higher wages. But when you look at what we had in 2008 and the effect of that on 2009, the disaster that he turned around, that's why his approval numbers are well into the positive numbers. You compare that to George W. Bush, you compare that to the racism of Donald Trump, and I think Hillary is going to win by a pretty large margin.
Congressman, it's Liz Clayman, a California girl, along with Kennedy, who's also from California. You know, you look at California as a state right now. Why is Hillary Clinton having any kind of difficulty running against Bernie Sanders at this point? Look, the polls just closed. We're waiting to hear what happens. But, you know, you would expect that having won it in 2008 and beaten President Obama, she might have an easier time. What do you think on the ground is going on in Californians' minds here?
I think Bernie Sanders has run an outstanding campaign. His strong stance against, for many years, against these trade deals that have hurt the American economy, his dedication to breaking up the big banks, he's got a very strong positive record. We have two very strong, popular Democratic candidates. Democratic voters were enthusiastic. That's why the turnout is at an all-time high among vote-by-mail voters. And I think when we look at the polls, we'll see Democrats turned out not holding their noses, but trying to decide which of these two candidates they support.
Okay,
and
Congressman,
we're all going to unify behind Hillary as things go forward.
thank you so much. Good to have you here tonight. Appreciate it.